Welcome back, guys. I'm tired and I'm doing it anyway because I know this may sound for a lot of people a bit crazy what I'm saying, but I have to say it anyway for those people that feel the same and that want to get a little bit of clarity around it. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about stepping out of the matrix. And what does it really mean? I can't really tell you what it means, but I had a big realization yesterday. I went to the place where I grew up in a suburb in Hamburg, in the outskirt of Hamburg, and there I met with a school friend from back when I went to school, obviously, and with her son. And I had Ananda with me. We went to a very nice farmhouse. They had everything from a little cafe and a playground and, all the animals. And on the way back, I felt a little bit of grief and loss. And I was a bit sad, and I was just sad about the life I could have lived. Do you know what I mean? I grew up there. I could, just go back to how my parents did it. And I could have had that life. And funnily, one of my ex-boyfriends, he is moving 3 houses away from my school friend now, or my parents' school friend, and where she's also going to build a house. And he has 2 kids now. He is doing all the normal, whatever you want to call this, normal life, normal job. Put your kids into the kita. Put them in childcare early, do your job, all this normal stuff. And we were there on a weekend, and it was so interesting. The families, they all seemed very happy. And it was a late summer day in Hamburg, and I could have had this life. I can still have it if I want to, but I grieved that I decided to step out of the matrix. And what does it mean? I stepped out of this normal life thing. And for me, there was no other way, like no other chance. And I could never ever go back into this. But I grieved that it could have been easy. And we all know it's not easy. I could have had I could have stayed in that normal job. I could have do this normal German family life, but I decided to not do it. I decided to step out of it, and I decided to build a house on Crete. And it's a bumpy road, to be honest. It's bumpy because the building's process is not finished. The tiny house we built instead is just too small if we want to. We both have online businesses. Ananda is growing fast and has her needs. And we do it all different. We don't go to normal checkups with the doctor. But every single time I go back into the system, I see what's going wrong, and I see why I stepped out. There's so much fear. But then there's also this part, what I've experienced yesterday, that it can be very nice. And I met my, he lived in the same street, and as kids, we played together on this street. And he now has 3 kids, and he lives in his old house of the house of his parents, and opposite of the house I grew up in. And he seemed happy. But still, how happy are you until the point where you feel like you're not living your purpose? You feel like you are just doing what the system wants you to do. And a couple of years ago, I just decided to step out. And I was very confident with my path, and it all worked out quite well, actually. Until the point when Ananda came into this world, and she mixed it all up a little bit. And sometimes I feel like, it could have been the easy way to just put her into childcare, just do my thing. But I feel like I've stepped out of the matrix. I can't go back in the system, and it's not what I'm here for. I'm here for helping other people who want to step out of the matrix. So if you're in it and you're happy with it, please stay. Please stay, because it's you're in that frequency and you're happy with that frequency. But if you feel like you're not happy in that frequency and you want to step out of the matrix, it is possible. And I'm talking about this in-between, because sometimes I'm still in the in-between, because then I meet old school friends, or I'm back with my parents and they're still in this matrix game. And it's and I also parent differently. Like with Ananda, she can do anything, because we're going to kill the divine will of our children if we keep on saying no, and this is not okay, and now I have to do this, and what you did led to this, and they are diminished in their will. And that leads to diminishing the divine will in the end. And that leads to people that are in the system and that are follow the rules of the system, which is okay until the point where you realize there's more. And I don't want my daughter to get into this wheel of the system and rules, and she has to go, she's losing her divine will, which I won't let her lose her divine will. That's why I actually encourage her to scream, to do what she wants to do, to make a mess, to everything, because there's washing machines, you can clean stuff, like it's not a big deal. But our society tries to put our kids in a box and say, you have to be clean, you can't do this, you have to stay in your chair when you eat, all those rules. And they are there for a reason. That's okay, if you want to stay in the system. But if you want to step out of the system, please teach your children already when they're small that they can keep their divine will, because it might be much easier for them. For me, it was difficult to step out of the system, because I learned so much to stay in the rules. And we all have to unlearn that, which is a hard way. But it's possible. Anyway, what I want to say is I realized yesterday that you can grieve this old life, and it might not be such an easy process. I mean, I'm in that process since 7 years now, stepping out of the matrix. And I think I've accomplished it until a point, but there's still potential, I would say. And but I realized, I think you can only step out of the matrix if you are connected to the divine, connected to something higher, if you are trusting in your intuition. But because if you can't trust the system anymore, the only thing you can trust is your intuition. And that it's no matter what you do. It's your business, what you work for, where you live, how you parent. You can only do that if you can trust in your own intuition, if you can trust in your intuition, which is divinely guided. You need this divine connection if you want to step out of the matrix, because you can't follow the rules anymore. You can't rely on a system that's based on rules if you want to be free. If you want to be free, you have to start trusting your inner guidance and trusting and following that. And that's why, because I noticed this, and that's why I established the divine connection method. And it's so powerful, and I can only tell anyone that wants to step out of the matrix, that is courageous enough to do so, to first establish this divine connection, because then you can really rely on it. and you can really rely on trusting yourself and having this clarity of going through the very difficult process of stepping out of the system while you still live in the system. Because I also do have the family, I also engage with people who are in the system, but I'm sort of vibing on a different frequency, and I can feel the difference, and I can trust in myself, and I can say, if the doctor says you have to do this and that to my daughter or about my daughter, I can trust my intuition, because I know that the right for her way for her is, for example, not to get vaccinated. But if you are so in the system, you really rely on the system, you have to do what they say. So I can really encourage you, get a divine connection, get a connection to the divine, to spirit source, whatever you want to call it. You can ask questions, you get guidance, you can really trust in that guidance, you feel connected and grounded and centered, and you can trust yourself. Then, yeah, then you can start stepping out of the matrix. That's what I wanted to say. If that's something for you, I'm setting up this 8-step process right now, the Divine Connection Method. And I'm going to do a little field study, let's say. I'm going to have a little group, just a tiny little group, who wants to learn this, wants to get to know their own intuition and know how it is to be divinely guided, who want to learn how to ask questions to the source and receive messages. This little group gets to do the 8-step Divine Connection Method process with me together in a very tiny beta group, and it's exciting. We're going to start hopefully beginning of October. So if you feel the calling to do that with me, you can do it now. Later on, when I release it and launch it publicly, you can still do it, but it will be a much higher price. And if you're up for this now, how do we do this? You comment below here on this video, or you write me a message on Instagram, yasmin.yes. I will put the link below in the comments. And you message me and you say, yes, I want to step out of the matrix and I want to learn how to be guided by the divine. That's exciting. You can do it if you want to. If not, it's okay. Please stay in the system. As I said, at some point yesterday, I also felt a bit sad that I didn't stay. We never know. There's no right or wrong. I'm just saying, if you're feeling the calling, if you feel the calling, there's actually no way around to go this process anyway. I'm sorry. So if you feel like you want to go the process with me, let me know. Have a wonderful day and always stay connected. And there's crazy things coming up. I will tell you soon.